Hi.
Hola.
Hi, hier ist Mr. Döse.
This is Michael Bradley.
Hey, I'm Memphis.
Hey.
Hola. Hello.
I'm here with soccer.com.
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 And I'm talking with my friends soccer.com.
See you soon.
Hey guys, Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you a first look plus on-feet video of the brand new Adidas Copa 17.1. Inside the box, all you get are the shoes themselves. They do not come with any extras. And of course, here is a look at what is supposed to be a modernized version of the Copa. At least that's how Adidas is marketing it to a certain extent, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in the video. What this really is, kind of name aside, is a reintroduction of something along the lines of what we had from the 11 Pro and Adipure lines, which when they did their wipeout and kind of introduced the X, Ace, and Messi lineups, we really haven't had anything quite like this, a full leather upper. I guess something to compete against Nike's Tiempo line, if you will, and that's kind of what the Copa 17.1 has on offer, or is competing with at least. So what we're going to be doing today is, of course, talking about the shoe itself, going over all of the tech specs, details, taking a look at the weight of the shoe. I'll compare it to the actual Copa Mundial a little bit as well. And of course, we're going to take a look at how these things fit and feel on feet. So if you are interested in learning more about the new Copa 17.1, stick around, watch the entire video. If you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, there'll be a little pop-up on screen, or you can click the first link down below. That'll take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick these guys up below their normal $200 retail price. So again, if you're interested in a pair, a little pop-up on screen, first link down below, go ahead and check it out. And with that being said, let's get right into the review. To start things off, let's talk tech specs, as well as talk about how this 17.1 version of the Copa compares, or at least relates, to the original Copa Mundial, which I have right here. By the way, this is still in production, and as long as Adidas exists as a brand, I would expect these to always be available for sale. The 17.1 is not replacing the original by any means. This is kind of just a standalone new silo that they're using the Copa name to kind of promote and get the word out, just because I think the Copa name is one of the most notable ones in the soccer cleat football boot world. Everybody knows what a Copa is, so I think it makes a lot of sense if they are, like I said, trying to revive the 11 Pro Adipure style shoe, because really up until now, the X, Ace, and Messi lines really haven't had anything that I guess offers a true leather feel. They've had leather variations where there's leather at the toe and forefoot, but this is, like I said, more along the lines of kind of what you would get from the Tiempo line from Nike, which up until now, at least over the last year and a half, 2 years, Adidas hasn't really had a response to. This is their response. So again, through Adidas's marketing, they've kind of suggested that the Copa 17.1 is inspired by the original Copa Mundial. The first thing that I think of when I think Copa is really high quality kangaroo leather and really good build quality. This shoe is made in Germany. The Copa 17.1 is not. This particular pair is made in Vietnam. I think that would have been a very cool touch had they produced the 17.1 in Germany, but it's not necessarily a strike against it. In fact, I would say it's kind of to be expected. What they did do though, is on the inside right here, you can see it says established in 1982, which is when the original Copa Mundial came out. And on the other side of the liner, you can see it says designed in Germany. So I guess there's that. The other thing that obviously this does have in common with the original Copa is the fact that it does have a kangaroo leather upper. It's not quite the same. The leather on the Copa Mundial, I would say, is a little bit thicker and arguably a little bit more premium overall. But what you do get on the 17.1 is quite nice, although a little bit thinner, like I said. Also, something that I really like here is the fact that the majority of the upper is actually leather. So basically all the red part that you see right here, the white part is more of a mesh-based synthetic, all the way through the forefoot, toe box, midfoot area. There is a seam right here, but it does continue on in leather where the red part is right there. All of that is leather. The only thing that isn't leather is, like I said, the white part at the heel and the tongue, which I think is a little bit of a mistake, but we'll get to that in just a second. So like I said, the quality of the leather, it is quite good. There's really nothing to complain about here. It's on par with other kind of high-end kangaroo leather modern soccer shoes out there. You get the little symbol there kind of letting you know that it is in fact natural leather. And like I said, it is a kangaroo leather material. So the quality is kind of typical of Adidas kangaroo leather. Pretty good. Nothing really to complain about here. As far as the other kind of relations between the Copa 17.1 and the original Copa, you do of course have the classic fold over flap tongue. Now the flap tongue on the Copa, you can choose to wear up, you can choose to wear down, you can choose to cut it off entirely. You don't necessarily have all of those options with the 17.1, but they did include this little extension piece, which again, I understand that design-wise it does kind of tie this shoe to the Copa Mundial just a little bit more, but I think that in the long run, this is something that didn't really need to be here. It can be a little bit of annoyance in my opinion, just based on try-ons. Not to say that it's going to completely, I guess, ruin your experience with this shoe, but I really just think they should have cut it off at the normal length of a regular kind of tongueless shoe, just because that's kind of how modern soccer cleats are going now. It just makes more sense to have less bulk. So basically what's happening here, filling in the middle part and then of course extending to this tongue piece, is what they call their new compression tongue. So basically what's happening, I've removed the laces on the other pair here, is you have an internal kind of support cage, if you will, made out of this kind of elasticated material. So basically it runs from the base of the sole, you can see it runs right there through the midfoot, and then it kind of attaches right here at the front, and you have it kind of running on the lateral side and medial side. So wraps your foot when you pull it in, and it has that kind of compression fit. So it's going to stretch a little bit to your foot, and then give you that kind of sock-like enclosure sensation with all of the leather wrapped around that. And the leather, as you can see, is backed by a pretty nice kind of synthetic suede material, which again, can't really complain about that at all. The quality of the shoe, I would definitely say, is pretty good. The problem that I've had with this compression fit material is one, it doesn't match the thickness of the leather, so you do get a little bit of a thinner touch on the ball through the middle of the foot versus the leather across the rest of the upper. And the other thing is that when you actually slide these on your foot, it's really difficult the first try to get this compression fit material to not kind of crinkle up towards the front. So what you'll find is it kind of folds up right here, like where you can't actually see it, and you're gonna have to kind of fiddle around with this to kind of flatten everything out before you pull the laces tight. Otherwise you're gonna have these little kind of fold over pieces that are kind of acting as pinch spots across the top of your foot. That's just a little bit uncomfortable. It's very fixable, like I said, with just a couple of kind of pulls on certain parts of this compression tongue piece, but it is something that is definitely worth mentioning and something that I immediately noticed when I put these on for the first time. As far as this tongue piece is concerned, it's very flexible. There's not a lot of stiffness to it. It's super, super thin as well. So I think for most people, you're probably just gonna leave it up. I wouldn't necessarily recommend trying to cut it off just because all of this material is pretty intricate, elasticated, kind of intertwined, kind of knitted. It's got like that knitted aspect to it. So I don't think that cutting it would be the best idea, just because I would really be afraid of it kind of unraveling and just destroying the center part of the shoe. They did technically design it to fold over like this. You can see they did incorporate the Adidas logo there on the underside, but I think you'd have a really hard time kind of keeping it down like this. You can see it immediately just wants to go back up, and then with any kind of force, it just kind of eventually turns back to how it was. So I think for the majority of people who are going to be owning these, expect to have this little kind of tongue piece kind of running up the front of your ankle / shin area, and that's basically how it's going to sit on your foot. There's no way to adjust that. What's also kind of a nice thing of this particular design is that you're not going to have this sliding from side to side while you're wearing them, which can be an issue with the Copa, where generally with a shoe that has a tongue, just a traditional design here, it does want to slide to one side while you're wearing it. Again, not going to have that issue here with the Copa 17.1. And that's pretty much where all the tie-ins to the Copa kind of end. There are little visual cues like the Copa branding right there. Again, the back piece is this synthetic material. You can see they incorporated this little piece right there that kind of looks a little bit like the original Copa. And then on the bottom, you're also going to find this design right here that doesn't necessarily tie into the firm ground Copa, but instead to the Adidas World Cup, which is the soft ground version of the Copa Mundial, where you will find this white and red pattern there on the bottom. So that's where that's actually coming from. It's not just completely random, like I think a lot of people perhaps might think. So leather upper, synthetic at the heel. The heel liner is a kind of perforated synthetic leather material, which is actually quite nice. You do have the little kind of bulges on either side of the ankle, where it does have the established in 1982 and the designed in Germany, with a nice amount of kind of soft memory foam padding. So the heel liner I actually really like, very comfortable out of the box, no complaints there. The insole, fully removable, features a really nice synthetic suede liner on top. You can see it says Copa 17.1 Outclass, and then it's just an ortholite material, which actually is really, really nice as well. Fairly thin, nothing too crazy as far as underfoot cushioning is concerned, but it definitely does get the job done, and it does give the shoe a premium vibe overall. And then moving on to the outsole, the sole plate, the stud pattern, it's directly taken from the current Ace 17.1 top end model. There's 17 line, so be it the Pure Control, be it whatever other top-end Ace model that's available right now, minus the boost cushioning, of course. You're going to have the exact same construction here. So you have the sprint frame, heel counter, sole plate combo, external heel counter, same ribbing like you'll find on the Ace, and the exact same stud pattern as the Ace as well. So it is technically FG-AG. You're safe to wear this on firm natural grass or artificial grass. And as far as traction is concerned, it does get the job done. It's a full conical stud pattern, which again, kind of relates to that of Copa Mundial, although the overall feel will be a fair bit different. And again, it's a decent effort at kind of a modernized version of the Copa to a certain extent. I really almost wouldn't even call this an all-new shoe from Adidas. It's the first time we've seen a kangaroo leather upper incorporated with this type of compression fit tongue design, but for the most part, we've had stuff like this from Adidas in the past with previous 11 Pro SL models. I'm sure a lot of you guys who have been around a little bit longer probably know exactly what I'm talking about, but nonetheless, I still think this is a really solid option if you're on the market for a kangaroo leather shoe from Adidas. There's nothing fancy about it. It is exactly what I think you expect it is, a kangaroo leather upper with a fairly lightweight feel because of the sprint frame construction, but that's not necessarily a bad thing at all. While we already know what the results will be, I still think it's kind of cool to weigh the Copa Mundial next to the Copa 17.1 in real time, just to see what the weight difference is, given that they do share the same Copa name. So I'm going to weigh both shoes for you today in real time. Keep in mind they're both in brand new condition. The Copa is an 8 US. These are a 9 US, but the fit is the same. For those that don't know, Copa Mundials have some pretty funky sizing, but nonetheless going to weigh them both for you today. So this is a very fair comparison because they are technically the same size and condition. We'll throw on the Copa Mundial, and you can see that they weigh in at 10.65 ounces, the equivalent of 302 grams, which isn't overly heavy, but it is heavier than what you're going to find for most high-end soccer shoes nowadays. So we'll change the scale back to ounces, pull these off, and throw on the Copa 17.1, which immediately when you pick them up, you'll know that they're significantly lighter. And you can see that they weigh in at 7.4 ounces, the equivalent of 209 grams. So you're talking about a weight difference of over 3 ounces and almost a full 100 grams less than the actual Copa Mundial. Again, not really the same shoe, but all things considered, the Copa 17.1, for a shoe that does offer a legitimately good quality kangaroo leather upper with a proper amount of leather as well, that's actually a pretty good package overall if you do want something that offers that traditional leather softness and touch on the ball, but at the same time is going to be very light. Again, kind of the competitor that I talked about, the Tiempo Legend 6, it weighs a little bit more than an ounce more than the Copa 17.1. So again, if you're looking for a lighter alternative to the Legend 6, this Copa 17.1 may be worth considering. As far as aesthetics and the general colorway is concerned, I think the Copa 17.1 is a pretty attractive design. There's not much about the shoe that I think most people won't like. If there's anything though, it would be this big flap tongue or the extension piece to the tongue itself. I just don't think it needs to be there. I don't think it looks particularly good, but it's something that they did include. And I guess overlooking that, the rest of the shoe I think is a really clean design. You got the Adidas stripes on either side, which feature this synthetic material that's slightly textured with the embroidery around. You have the Copa located right here where you would normally embroider a name or something like that. Adidas logos on the back as well as on the tongue. I like the kind of homage to the Adidas World Cup here with the graphic there on the base of the sole plate. And again, you get the established in 1982 on the inside, on the one side, and on the other side it does say designed in Germany, which I think is a cool little touch, and again, kind of relates the shoe to the original Copa Mundial. As far as the colorway is concerned, I think it looks really good. Majority red upper, white accents in the heel and sole plate, and then of course black Adidas stripes with Adidas logos in black as well. Not a bad launch colorway. I don't really have any issues with the look of this particular color scheme, but I think if you're going to launch a shoe with the Copa name, given the type of person who perhaps is going to be interested in this style of shoe, I think it would have been a really good move to launch it in black and white, the standard Copa color, but that's just me. I'm sure at some point we will see that color combination available for the Copa 17.1. but for a first colorway, I definitely think these are pretty attractive. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Do you like how these look? Why or why not? And with that being said, let's move on to the on-feet portion of the video so we can get a better idea as to how these shoes fit, feel, and of course, what the sizing is like. All right, so here is a look at the Copa 17.1s on feet. On my left foot, I have the stock red laces that come with the shoes, and on my right foot, I have a pair of black reflective SR4U replacement laces. If you're interested in a pair of replacement laces for yourself, the website to go to is www.sr4ulaces.com. You find a little pop-up on screen, as well as a link down below in the description that'll take you directly to the website. So if you're interested in a pair, be sure to go ahead and check that out. Now, in terms of how these things fit and feel on feet, they're very, very comfortable shoes. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, when you slide them on, it does take a little bit of adjusting to get the compression tongue to fit properly. It really seems to bunch up right about here when you slide your foot in there. So you kind of have to pull on the compression tongue at about this spot right there to get it to kind of fold flat, as opposed to having kind of creases that you really do feel as kind of pressure points or just bulges of material inside of the shoe that you don't necessarily want to have. But again, once that's all adjusted, the shoe is very, very comfortable. The Kangaroo leather is soft, it's flexible, the sprint frame isn't overly stiff, which is nice as well. And the compression fit sock, like I said, once it's all kind of in the right spot, it does feel quite good. It doesn't wrap your foot or squeeze it too tightly. It just has a nice kind of close, almost sock-like effect on the inside of the shoe. Along with the leather, it makes for, like I said, a pretty nice package overall. It's a pretty comfortable shoe, standard low cut, no issues in regards to heel slippage, and no real discomfort here at all. I think the break-in process is going to be pretty straightforward, and like a leather shoe, they're going to get softer as you wear them in, and you're also going to get some decent stretch out of it as well, given that it is a soft, kind of unreinforced Kangaroo leather material. So again, if you're looking for kind of a traditional leather shoe, quality leather, and kind of a lightweight, I guess tighter fitting profile, that's what you're gonna get here with the Copa 17.1. Speaking of fit, again, you get the compression fit tongue on the inside, which does feel a little bit snug against your foot, but for the most part, the width of the shoe isn't narrow by any means. This is a shoe that I think is gonna be suitable for most people. If you have super, super, super wide feet, I guess you could still try these out and give them a go. I think, like I said, they'll fit just about anybody width-wise. So for the most part, you should be pretty much good to go in the fit department. Again, if you kind of have some realistic expectations in terms of how it's going to feel. It's not a super tight fitting shoe. It's not a really, really wide fitting shoe, but because of the leather, once they're broken in, like I said, pretty much anybody should be able to wear them. And in regards to sizing, I'm wearing my usual size 9 US here, and the fit and the length is absolutely perfect. So if you are looking to order a pair of these for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. And one last thing in regards to this kind of tongue, like I said, it kind of just sits a little bit higher. If you're wearing taller socks where this part of your kind of shin area is covered, you don't feel it at all. Maybe a little bit, it's somewhat noticeable. And as far as trying to fold it over, you can see you can attempt to, but it just immediately goes right back into place. So you're kind of stuck with wearing them like this. So if you don't necessarily like how that looks, again, you're gonna have to kind of live with it with the Copa 17.1. All right, guys, that is it for my first impressions of the Adidas Copa 17.1. Expect to see more content on this shoe, as well as the rest of the new Copa 17 line in the very near future on this channel. If you are interested in a pair of these for yourself, you can either click the little eye in the corner of the screen or the first link down below. That'll take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick these guys up below their normal $200 retail price. If you have any questions regarding this shoe, leave them down below in the comments and I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all of my social media information linked down below as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.